Hello everyone, welcome back to MERN Stack web application development series. In the previous video, we have created this server.js and written some code to connect to the database, where we also saw the application was successfully able to connect to the database. Okay. Now we have to create few models, which will be the MongoDB database schema representation of our objects, and also interact with them using, we need to perform some operation on them using some routes are basically the type format of API calls that we will be doing to perform certain operation, and then the model gets updated and we write that to the database. Okay, so for that we will get started with creating our models. Okay, so let's create a folder to manage our project structure better. So I created a folder models, and inside this I will create a user.model.js. Okay, alright, so the model.js is created. Here let's go ahead and try to define the schema of our user object. Okay, user schema. Okay, and we are creating a new schema. Okay, we will have to import the schema first. So the schema will be imported from MongoDB. So let's do a Mongoose require Mongoose, of course, and we need the schema. So let's declare that as well. Okay, mongoose.schema. All right, so this is the schema that we needed. We have imported it. Okay, now we can go ahead and define the schema. Okay, all right, so username definition looks like this. Its type is string, and it is obviously, so we have to define whether it is required or not. Okay, true. We want to have any constraint, for example unique. Okay, and you could always trim the username. Okay, and minimum length also you can define anything, it does not matter, you can keep it 1 2 3 anything. So let's keep it 3 for simplicity. And the next thing we want to store in the schema, maybe a timestamp. Okay, and time. Okay, wait 1 second, we messed up the brackets here. Okay, and so next parameter that we want to give is schema options. Okay, in the schema options we want to just give the timestamp true. Okay, so this will help us store the timestamps also. Okay, all right, that's done. I think we messed up the brackets. Okay, all right, so this is done. So we are giving 2 parameters to the schema. First is schema definition, obviously you can see here, schema definition and schema options. Okay, you can explore more here. You can create an auto create, and you want to have an index. So yeah, anything, it's about exploring what are the different options. We're not going in detail because this particular section is not about discussing the features of MongoDB, but a crash course to develop a MERN Stack application. If needed, I'll develop a new tutorial on MERN due to a MongoDB itself. Okay, but right now our focus is creating a web application, simple web application, right? So what we want to do is we want to map it to a model in the database, which will be named, say, user itself, and that will use this particular schema, right? So Mongoose database will create a table called user, which will use this particular schema. Okay, and let's export this user thing for other members of other files in our application to use this thing. Okay, you can do that easily by export. Okay, and that's all, I guess. That's all from this file. We have defined the schema and options for a table which will be called as user. Okay. So, okay, if you have any doubt, please let me know in the comment section. And then let's create a route and operations that will interact with this particular object. Okay. So let's create routes folder, and that we can name it as user.route. Okay, it will contain user routes and operations. So let's just name it user.users.js. Okay, so yeah, we'll get started with this here. So basically, routes are the URL that user will type to reach particular operation. Say add becomes one operation, user add, user deletes become another operation, or maybe an API. So here add is one route and delete is one route. Okay, so we are providing only two types of route in this application right now, which is get and add. So our application will allow you to add a user and get a user. Okay, so let's write down the router first. So obviously we'll use the ExpressJS library for that. Okay, ExpressJS.router. Okay, that's how you get a router from ExpressJS. Okay, and let's also import the user object that we just exported in the previous section. Okay, okay, and go back one folder, and then you can go to models / user model. Okay, so we have imported that. Let's define two methods. First is get. Okay, and so this is basically to get the user. You can do router.route. Okay, now here it says path params. Okay, what is the path at which this will be exposed? So basically no path. Basically, if you do application URL / so it is going to get you the usernames. Okay, so this method gives you, whenever user calls, you get a 2 parameter in the request. So that one is request and another is response. Okay, let's implement and handle this. Okay, so here we want to do is maybe find a user.find. Okay, and user.find will get us all the users. Okay, and then let's do a user and response.json.user. I'll explain this, what this means. Okay, here. So user is a model in the MongoDB database. Okay, when I do a find without any particular argument, or like what is the filter I want to use, or what is the parameters that I'm passing. If I don't pass it anything, it is just going to give me all the users. Okay, once the function completes fetching all the users from the database, so one by one what I'm doing is just taking that input and dumping it in the response as the JSON string. Okay, so if there are 2 users, this will have 2 users, and that particular thing is dumped to the caller. Okay, and let's do some error handling as well. Okay, if there is any error that is received, we want to set the response status. Okay, response status to maybe 400 or 500, whatever appropriate it is as per your application. Okay, and you can also send an error message with the error string. Okay, make sure you are not exposing any database schema or code level information in your error string. So just have to be careful here. Okay, all right, so this will get us the username. Okay, we'll test this method later. Now let's jump on to adding a user. Okay, adding a user. Now we have to do router.route, and this path param we will keep it as add dot post. We'll have this method as post. Okay, request we will pass from the request what is the username that user is giving, and we will provide some response. So in the previous example, we have not used the request object because we wanted to provide all the users. Okay. Now constant dot username. Okay, let's fetch the username from the request body. You can do request dot body dot username. Okay, so this is basically what user is passing, or in our case the React application, the front end will be passing to us. Okay, all right, and then you can do maybe create a username with this particular username. Okay, new user, use the user model, pass an argument to it. Okay, so this will create a user object, right? We have seen in the previous example. So user table contains a parameter, okay, which is of type string. Okay, so that's how you can create an object of user. Okay, now this particular user object is created, which is nothing but a user object of MongoDB schema instance. Okay, hence you can go ahead and save this thing in the database. Okay, just you have to do save. Okay, and then you can do some error handling as well here. Okay, there is nothing, no response to be handled actually, but you can just say to user some response which says user added. Okay, and let's also copy paste the previous error message just to save time. All right, I think yes, that's all with this. Yes, we have added the get and add user, and yeah, okay, we have to do export as well, module export, because we will be using this particular thing in our server.js. Okay, I think yeah, that's all we had to do with respect to user. You can add features to like edit, delete a user, maybe find a particular user on a user ID and stuff. Okay, but we will limit it to adding only get and adding. Okay, all right, yeah, that's all from this video. In the next video we will work on the other models, the other model that we have. Okay, all right, stay tuned. Thank you.